Welcome back. I'm Tom Hewitt, and this is News 13's Eye on the Election. I'm here with Sue Hall, who's running for school board. And Sue, you sit on the school board right now and have been there for some time. But for those who might not know you as well, I guess just introduce yourself and give a little background on, how you came to be on the school board and what your time there has been like.
Well, I've been involved with Fairbanks Schools since our daughter entered in 1979 and started out just as a parent, but within a couple of years we organized a PTA at Hunter where my kids went, and then I got involved with organizing another 20 PTAs in Fairbanks, and then served on the State Board of Education in the 80s and that was involved with the state and national PTA, and then ran for the school board 9 years ago and have been there ever since. And now I serve on the board, and I'm the president of the State Association of School Boards as well as on the State Board of Education. And and this is the best part, I have 8 kids and 29 grandkids.
New standards for assessing teachers and schools just went into effect this year, and among other things, they measure teachers based on their students' achievement and their progress, making adequate yearly progress basically year over year, and use those scores basically to determine where district focus and effort should lie. How do you feel about, I guess, directing potential compensation or differences or focus of the school district based on those assessments?
Well, I think the new teacher evaluation system caused a lot of consternation because it really is the first time that student performance will be considered as part of a teacher's evaluation. But it seems to me that it's appropriate to have it be some factor, and it appears to me from what I've seen of the evaluation system that it will be it won't be an overriding factor, and that teachers, my kids went to Hunter, and I really want folks to not be, I want some of our best teachers to be willing to go where it's challenging to teach the students and where they won't be afraid that they will be penalized if the students aren't performing well. So I will keep an eye on the evaluation system as we go forward to make sure that student performance factor is appropriate, that it's one consideration, but that good teachers can be recognized and perhaps, as you said, rewarded for raising student performance. I think it's something, it's new, so we kind of need to give it some time. And I would just add, it's part of what I call the perfect storm. We're raising standards, higher standards. We have much more aggressive assessments, it will just be more difficult for our kids to perform well on the assessments that are coming down in 2015. And then we've got this new evaluation system and a new star rating system and, kind of a 90% graduation target from the governor. And, those are challenges for us. But it's important that our kids be prepared for the world that they'll live in. So I think we have to meet the challenge.
The idea of vouchers that would let parents more or less take a sort of a check of state tax dollars that are devoted to education or borough taxes devoted to education, and basically shop around, use them at private schools or public schools depending on their preference, has been championed by some as offering students and parents more options, but then derided by others as basically potentially violating the principle of separation of church and state. How do you feel about vouchers?
Well, there are places, because I'm involved with the National School Boards Association in Canada, I've talked to their school board members there, and they use state funds for all kinds of religious schools and other, parents get to choose and they can take their money with them. And they're kind of like, why do you guys make this such a big deal, I think there need to be protections, and I really haven't always been a supporter of vouchers, worrying that it would take money from public schools, and public schools, I believe, are the foundation of our democracy. But I'm kind of beginning to think differently about it. If the state was willing to recognize that the pie would have to expand, and that you would bring in accountability for a lot of students that we're concerned about right now that may not be getting a good education, that if you take state funds, you have to be willing to be tested and show that your kids are making progress. I kind of think maybe we're too concerned about that, and I'm willing to look at it. I'm not going to give testimony in support or against it, but I think maybe we haven't given it a fair chance. So we need that discussion.
All right. The state government, under the leadership of Governor Sean Parnell, has left state education funding mostly flat over the past 3 years. In particular, the base per student allocation has gone unchanged over those years. And as a school board, you essentially take what the legislature and the borough will give you. But how active do you think that that school board members should be, or the school board as a whole, in, I guess, seeking to help the legislature and the borough determine that funding number?
Oh, very active. I mean, I think we have a moral responsibility to tell them what's happening in our system and what it costs. I just spent the last 3 days in Anchorage gave testimony to the Senate task force that's operating, and also to the Anchorage Chamber. We made a presentation there about some change that needs to occur in education relative to technology. I mean, we're school board members. We're elected to help everybody understand what kids need in order to be successful. And there's just no question. Our budget has not, last year we made budget cuts that I believe were harmful for kids. And I don't feel good about that as a school board member. We fought hard to keep from raising class size, which we haven't done in this community in over 20 years, and failed at that goal. And I feel bad about that. It's not right. But Fairbanks is kind of in a perfect storm too. Our cost differential, which is the adjuster in the foundation formula for, rising costs in remote areas. Our cost differential is the same as Matsu's. Well, we know that we have different costs. And Kenai has a cost factor that's way more than ours, which again is, and the foundation formula was changed, rewritten 15 years ago. We need to take another look at it. The cost factors have only been in place for the last few years, I'd say 5 or 6, but over those 5 or 6 years, see, we've been consistently not being treated equitably by it. So Fairbanks has a particularly important case to make relative to school funding, and I'm hopeful we can make it this year, and I certainly pledge that I will be active in that pursuit.
I think that's about all the time we have, Sue, but thank you very much for coming in.
You're welcome.
And for the rest of you, don't go away just yet. We've got Jamie Schwartzwald coming up next with sports, and he'll be joined at this desk by Trevor Stewart on the eve of the Ice Dogs' first opening game on the Kenai Peninsula. Stay with us.